Up shortly, but I wanted to first say thank you for joining us. This is our fourth special event at Max. We love coming to Max because, of course, it's full of the most amazing creative people. We're doing amazing things with our products and Adobe's products. A little over 4 years ago, when we started working on the first iPad Pro, and really what you're seeing today is a result of that hard work. I think we continue to try to build platforms that are super fast and performant for the kinds of things you love to do, and hopefully you see what the geniuses at Adobe have been able to do with it. So
when the iPad Pro came out, folks' expectation of our software immediately went like this. They thought, it's wonderful you're on the iPad, but now that the iPad can do all these things, we expect a lot more of the software. So we've been working together for many years to bring that to you, and you've seen it in some shipping projects. The Lightroom system's a great example. Rush, which launched today, is another fantastic example. There's a lot of different teams from Adobe representing things here, and there are a couple of really exciting updates on the iPad as well.
During that timeline, we were able to hit a huge technical milestone, which was opening up a real PSD on the iPad. So again, this is a really complex, large PSD that you're seeing here. There are no changes to what you would be looking at on the desktop. Taking 2 fingers, you could just pinch and open and close. It's super seamless and smooth. You could pinch again and just swipe it away. And in terms of this layer stack, you could even get into the layer properties, which we know is really important for pros to be able to tap a layer, navigate, make adjustments. This document in particular is 208 layers. We have opened up documents with hundreds and hundreds of layers. Photoshop has 8,000 layers. You can have actually up to as many layers as Photoshop because it's the same code base. And let's go ahead and start creating some textured brush strokes. And once I hold down, it starts erasing the strokes, and it has recognized the same pattern of the brush size, opacity, everything that I've used, and so it mimics the brush while it erases. And create a little posse for him. Now let's just bring back this kid's room, and now you've got this full view here. So again, the first asset is just showing the power of what we have here on the iPad Pro. It gives us so much power to play with. And we could really get into the precision as well, and really all the full capabilities of Photoshop here on the iPad. Thank you.
So Project Gemini, Eric did a fantastic job of laying out for everybody some of the higher points about how this app works and how it's laid out and how beautiful it is and easy to work with because it has a very pared-down interface. And you mentioned earlier we have your cloud documents that are already ready to go, whether they're Gemini native files or they're Photoshop files that you want to open up as well. This is just some of the stuff that I've been doing with Gemini. I thought I'd start by just showing you the kind of a range of styles that are possible. So I decided I really like Mike Mignola, who's the Hellboy creator. He's one of my heroes. And I was doing vector line art right here, and then just using raster fills for the color, which is the beautiful thing is in Gemini you can use raster brushes and vector brushes together And there are lots of practical reasons for that. You can also export that vector art later to Illustrator if you want to further tinker around with it and so on. Every color I've used in this document is right here. You select a color, boom. Yeah, and not only that, folks, but here's the really incredible thing. It's not just the color that gets remembered, it's the opacity of that color. So if you are using the oils and you're like, yeah, I used this one color, but I used it at 49% opacity. How are you gonna remember that later? And in this area here, if I were just gonna use a little bit thicker paint, look at that. It's still gonna pick up the color that's there, but now that I'm laying more paint on top, right, I'm gonna start to lose that canvas texture. So this is a really fantastic thing that the engineers spent 3 years working on to develop, which was what do real paints do? How can we use science to make that happen? It's really fantastic. Science. Exactly. So that's pretty cool. And anybody here use Photoshop Sketch? Some people. We're going to be using the same brush engine that powers the pencil for Sketch so that you can, of course, draw with all the pressure you need, but also use the side of this brilliant Apple Pencil for shading, right? You can control that width just by the tilt of the pencil and go all the way to the full width as well. You're actually getting a slightly different hue, saturation, and value of the color that you selected. This is an Adobe only feature, and it's been around since CS4, I believe, but a lot of people don't realize how amazing it is. Crank up the opacity here so you can see that you're actually getting slightly different oranges, reds, and yellows with each successive stamp. So if you want to, you can go over and over an area and watch it change as you paint, which is really cool. What I like about Gemini is for watercolors, I can actually control everything I need. So we have this handy-dandy water slider here. Now this controls how much wetness is in the paint. So obviously if you crank it up and then paint, you're going to see that the paint really flows really fast and really far to cover that area. Can you all see that, or is it too light? Maybe I'll use a darker color. Here we go. All right, so watch that. There it goes, okay? And that's because it's going to flood pretty much the entire area you paint because there's a ton of water. But if I reduce that and then paint the same kind of shape, see what happens? So you have a tremendous amount of control over how much water you're using, which means you could also then, if you want to, let's say I have this hard edge shape, so let me paint something here. Just make a little shape, all right? Now, if I want to soften this edge, I can suck all the color out and just use the water. Okay, I'll size my brush down. Anybody who's used Adobe Draw, you know how sweet it is to actually draw freehand with a vector brush. And we've implemented smoothing. This is something people have wanted for years, right? And I'm kind of like a little bit shaky on it. I'll just increase the smoothing, so then I get perfectly smooth, beautiful curves. Oh. And I'm not doing anything here. This is just happening, right? I don't have to be a whiz at having a steady hand or anything like that. It just happens, right? And infinitely scalable and crisp. Look at that, look at that. Thank you very much.
Crazy.